Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. I'm Max.
And I'm Nora. Together, we're going to dive into fun and engaging English conversations to help you improve your listening and speaking skills.
That's right, Nora. And today, we have an electrifying topic to discuss innovations that change the world. Let's kick things off with a bang, shall we?
Absolutely, Max. And dear listeners, as we chat, we'll sprinkle in English tips and tricks, so keep your ears open.
First up on our list of groundbreaking innovations is the wheel. Can you imagine life without it?
Hardly. The wheel revolutionized transportation and machinery. Quick English tip, folks, when you say revolutionized, you're talking about a dramatic change. It's a fantastic word to describe the impact of innovations.
Great point, Nora. Moving on, let's talk about electricity. It's hard to believe there was a time when the night was lit only by stars and candles.
Absolutely, Max. Thomas Edison's invention of the light bulb illuminated the world in ways previously unimaginable. Here's a tip. Illuminated not only means to light up, but can also be used metaphorically to describe making something clear or understandable.
Speaking of making things clear, the invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg made knowledge accessible to many, not just the elite.
Indeed, Max. It democratized information. And listeners, democratized is a powerful word that means making something accessible to everyone. It's a term often used in discussions about technology and information.
Now, let's fast forward to the internet. It's like the world got a whole lot smaller overnight.
True that, Max. The internet has connected people in ways that were once the stuff of science fiction. Here's a fun phrase for you all. The stuff of science fiction. It means something is so innovative or futuristic, it seems like it could only exist in a sci-fi novel or movie.
Nora, I think it's time for our quirky fact of the day. Did you know the first ever webcam was invented to check the status of a coffee pot at the University of Cambridge?
That's hilariously practical, Max. English learners notice the use of hilariously practical. It's a fun way to say that something is both funny and useful.
And before we wrap up this electrifying episode, let's not forget to mention smartphones. They've literally put the world at our fingertips.
So true, Max. And listeners, literally is a word that emphasizes that something is true to the letter. Be careful, though. It's often overused in English.
As we come to the end of our first episode, remember that innovation isn't just about big inventions. It's about the small changes we make every day to improve our lives and the lives of those around us.
And with that thought-provoking message, we're not going to say goodbye in the typical, boring way. Instead, we'll say, keep innovating your English learning journey.
And keep tuning into the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. Until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Nora. Catch you on the flip side.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to episode 2 of the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. I'm Max, your co-host on this journey of language and discovery.
And I'm Nora. Today, we're diving into a topic that's close to many of our hearts, self-help and relationships. It's going to be an insightful and hopefully helpful episode.
That's the spirit, Nora. And as we unravel this topic, we'll share English phrases and idioms that might come in handy. Let's start with self-help. Nora, what's your take on it?
Well, Max, self-help is all about personal development and growth. It's like being your own coach. English learners, here's a phrase, being your own coach. It means guiding yourself to improve.
Excellent point, Nora. And part of self-help is setting goals. Setting realistic goals is crucial. It's like aiming for the stars but keeping one foot on the ground.
Right you are, Max. Speaking of keeping things balanced, relationships play a huge role in our self-help journey. They say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly, Nora. That saying highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences. Quick tip for our listeners. The phrase surrounding yourself with means to spend time with certain people or in certain environments.
Moving on to relationships, communication is key. Remember, it's not just about what you say, but how you say it. The tone of voice can change the meaning of your words entirely.
Couldn't agree more, Nora. And for those learning English, this is a golden tip. Practice your tone and intonation. It can really change the impact of your sentences.
Another aspect of healthy relationships is empathy. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes, understanding their feelings and perspectives is vital.
And speaking of empathy, here's our quirky English idiom of the day: to wear someone's shoes. It doesn't mean literally wearing their shoes, it means to imagine experiencing what they are going through.
That's a fun way to look at it, Max. And as we touch on self-help and relationships, let's not forget the importance of self-love. It's the foundation upon which we build our interactions with others.
Absolutely, Nora. Loving yourself is where it all begins. It's like the old saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first.
So, listeners, as we wrap up today's episode, remember, improving yourself and nurturing your relationships are ongoing journeys. There's always something new to learn and ways to grow.
And don't just take our word for it. Explore, read, and talk to others. Engage in your own self-help and relationship-building adventures.
And with that, we won't just say goodbye. Instead, we'll say, embark on your journey of self-improvement and cherish your relationships along the way.
That's it for today's episode of the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. I'm Max.
And I'm Nora. Until next time, keep learning and keep smiling.
Welcome back to the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. This is episode 3, and I'm your co-host, Max, ready to dive into today's hot topic, climate change.
And I'm Nora. We're here to warm up your English skills while cooling down the planet. Sounds ambitious, right? But every little bit helps. Today's conversation is not just educational, it's a call to action.
That's the spirit, Nora. Climate change is a global challenge, affecting every corner of the Earth. It's about the changes in global temperatures and weather patterns over time. And remember, folks, global temperatures refers to the average temperature of the Earth's surface.
Exactly, Max. And a key term you'll often hear is global warming, which is the long-term rise in Earth's average temperature. Quick tip. When talking about climate change, it's important to distinguish between weather and climate. Weather is what's happening right now outside your window, while climate is what happens over a long period of time.
Great distinction, Nora. Now let's talk about the greenhouse effect. It's not about gardening. It's a natural process that warms the Earth's surface. The problem arises when human activities intensify this effect, trapping more heat.
That's where terms like carbon footprint come into play. It measures the impact your actions have on the amount of carbon dioxide produced and, in turn, on climate change. English learners incorporating phrases like reduce your carbon footprint can make your conversation more impactful.
Speaking of impact, let's talk solutions. One big word in the climate vocabulary is sustainability. It means meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs.
And don't forget renewable energy. It's energy from sources that never run out, like the sun or wind. By switching to renewables, we can drastically reduce our carbon footprint.
That brings us to our quirky English phrase of the day. It's not just a drop in the ocean. This means that even small actions can have a big impact when it comes to fighting climate change. Don't underestimate your power to make a difference.
Absolutely, Max. And as we wrap up today's episode, remember, discussing climate change isn't just about sharing doom and gloom. It's about inspiring action and hope for a healthier planet.
So, as we say our goodbyes, We won't just leave you with, see you next time. We'll say, be the change you wish to see in the world. Every step towards a more sustainable lifestyle counts.
You've got it, Max. This has been the Daily English Podcast by Simple English Conversations. I'm Nora.
And I'm Max. Until we meet again, keep your English growing and your environmental impact shrinking.